in Rome for the 8th round of this season. Revo on pole from Daniel Bogdasarov and Jack Carter. Then it's Oscar Folstad, Sebastian Ocampo, Akari Lopez, and T. Gabo. The Not Curie starts 8th from Dav Sanchez and Iowa. Then it's Lars Leclerc, Leo, and Michael Moskov, followed by his teammate Tommy. Then it's Marcus Nelson, David Camino, Cosmos, and the 2 Nissans of Santina Milan and P. Sierra. Then it's Ukable, Milrez, and Vastian Tan. After the pure, unfiltered chaos of last summer in Marina Bay, we hope for a lot calmer racing today. As all 5 bikes go on. And we go green in Rome. That's a very good stuff from Bogdasarov off the line. He's going to have a very good chance of being ahead of Revo coming into turn number 1. He's alongside the hyperdrive man Volstad, already ahead of Jack Carter, as Bogdasarov coming through the first chicane, if we can take a look, is ahead of Revo, but not for too much longer. Tommy getting a 5-second time penalty further back, and he's in the wall that we saw. One of the styrofoam barriers that go off Cosmos, just hitting the Nissan of P. Sierra. And that is just kind of messy from those guys further back. So Revo leads the way from Bogdasarov and Oscar Folstad. Jack Carter got 1 position on the starts, but not as many as Tommy. He's dropped from roughly 14th down to 12th. So for the next DV man, he's going to have to evolve further to get himself further up the order. Akari closing in on Jack Carter, the fight for 4th here. And, of course, he hopes to be on the podium again. His teammate was on the podium last time out by virtue of just finishing, but here comes Akari down the inside, but he's gone way too early to make the move stick. So he's lost time to Carter coming out of that final turn. Revo leads the way a second ahead of Bogdasarov and a further second ahead of Oscar Folstad. None of the top 3. He should get attack mode coming down on the straight that sees you into the 4th to last turn. There are only 2 attack mode activation points on this track. And Sierra and Tommy being roughly 7 seconds off the pack is quite telling of how that race has gone so far. And with Milrez being 2 seconds off Bastian's hand, it's even more telling. So Bogdasarov will get attack mode, but so will Carter. Not Carter, Folstad. I think Carter. No, he doesn't have attack mode. Folstad closing in on Daniel Bogdasarov. Will he try and make the move? Not quite on Daniel there. And so already you can see drivers being a little bit antsy to make overtakes. The other version currently 3rd in the world driver standings. He's in 7th. Not really trying to make any sort of move. That's T. Gabo, because he's literally the only man in that predicament currently. We've got 3 drivers here, all with attack mode. So Carter, a real sitting duck to both Akari and Ocampo. So Akari ahead. Ocampo would have to try and make a late move, and doesn't. He's really being conservative here. So Akari to P4. Bogdasarov still in 2nd. He had attack mode on the last lap, but he didn't use it. This is the thing. He didn't use attack mode to the fullest of its capabilities. He couldn't close in on Revo quite enough. Of course, this is the number 1 car's home event. The same for the 29, but neither of them, neither Revo or T. Gabo, trying to, make any higher ground or break away from the pack any more than they already have. Tommy has actually got quite a bit of damage trying to defend from P. Sierra, swooping across the Nissan man. Shocked that there wasn't any contact, especially after what happened on the opening lap. But it's lap 3 of 13 with 10 laps to go, and track limits being heavily disobeyed. To be completely honest with you, Bastian Tan's dropped to 19th. He started on the hard tires, same as an Ocui and P. Sierra. So of course they wouldn't have the best of starts, but to drop to 19th, especially when he started in 22nd, this is basically just Bastian waiting for better opportunities to come in this race. Folstad trying to close in on Bogdasarov. as much as he can, but all he can really do is break away from Akari. That's all he's doing. Ocampo's dropping down the order, and it's Ocampo. Ocampo's got a puncture. Rear puncture for the number 76 in the DS Andretti. And on lap 4, it's the second week in a row where we've had a World Drivers Champion get a puncture. And that's going to have to be him coming into the pits at the end of this lap. And he has to avoid now Sierra and Tommy. Oh, Sierra hitting the back of him though. And Tommy, oh, rammed into the back of the Andretti man. Was the next EV driver. And that's it for Ocampo. He's going to have to just come into the pits. That's all he can do. As into the pits come the top 3. So Falstad staying out on lap 5 of 13. He leads from Gabo, from Carter and Gabo, but Gabo is actually closing in on Jack Carter. So he's going to try his absolute hardest to get as close as possible, but honestly, I have no clue how that puncture happened for Ocampo, and he's going to be caught quite quickly. Camno hitting the back of Leo. Ooh, that's a 5-second time penalty going the way of the Romanian number 88. The only Romanian left in this championship after Fabinus's retirement. And virtual safety car for iWorld. iWorld out of the Prix. There is the Mercedes car. And that's an unusual accident, if you ask me. We do see crashes at that chicane quite a lot. It's a very tight turn. But crashes like that, I wouldn't say they're that common. So 8 laps to go, sorry. And Ocampo only now coming through the pits. We go back racing. And sadly for Ocampo, I don't see him doing too much better. You can see, however, this little gaggle of cars fighting over 9th position. Miura is currently up into that 9th position. Marcus Nelson, after last time out and a double race win, he found himself up into 2nd in the World Driver standings. But when you've won one of those races through attrition and the other one through strategy, I don't know how good Nelson actually is these days. I can't really tell. But Gabo leads the way from Minot Kiwi and Daf Sanchez. Knockoff forcing Marcus Nelson very wide coming through there. It's a Max Verstappen school of defensive maneuvers type move. As we see Gabo come through that chicane, a lot of weaving coming out of there. And oh, out of the race goes Daf Sanchez. Sanchez out of the E3 too. Leclerc comes in with a puncture as well. So Ocampo not the only one to have tyre problems, but that's another day for an Andretti car. That's his day over. Oh man. 7 to the checkered, and that's a second DNF. And this time it's for SAN. Deary me. Virtual safety car is ending then. And Gabo will lead us to lap 7 as long as he doesn't pit. Revo's found his way back up into 5th. So that is currently the net race lead for Revo. And he's got Bastian Tan on his tail. But he's going to try and get past Marcus Nelson before anything else. Could he actually get past Knokov here? No, not quite. That's a slot in between them. And Gabo's still out there, in fact. He's still there. No, Ocampo's still yet to come across his own teammate as well. Nelson and UK Ball coming into the pits. Dark skies coming over this track. And I think this race might just be a one-stopper. I think we might actually have a one-stop race on our hands for the first time in a long while. Not Kiwi closing in on Gabo though, as they come through the chicane. Very wide into the wall goes Gabo, losing half of his front wing for the Virgin driver. Unfortunate for him, as that's very deep through the chicane from Michael Novikov, almost running over that stricken Virgin front wing. As we go on board with Cosmos, he's fighting with Santino Milan. It's the front nose of the Nissan man we saw come alongside, almost touching wheels there, but Looks like he's had to concede the position as Santino. He won on his third race, the third round that he was ever competing in last season in Buenos Aires. He won that, and he hasn't won another race since. As into the pits comes T. Gabo, so Inokui will lead this race on lap 8 of 13. With just 5 more laps to run in this race, this could be the day of the hard tire runner. Novikov also coming in. So he's done 8 laps on those mediums, has Michael Novikov. I think this is going to be a one-stop race. I don't see second stops being all that necessary unless your name is Sebastian Ocampo. So coming into the chicane then is an Inokui, a Hong Kong man leading an E3, become an even more common in sight in recent years. But you never really think of Hong Kong being a country where you'll see multiple race winners, but we have seen 2 Hong Kong race wins last season. As you see, David Camino. The way he swerves there is just stopping Gabo from making any inroads as Nelson trying to come alongside Tommy. But here's a potential fight for the lead. Ravo reeling in an Inokui here as they enter the final turn here in Rome. Will the Italian man try and get past? No, he went too early. We see this all the time. And Inokui is going to leave the field to lap 9 of 13. And Arebo now, he's going to start to struggle with his tyres. They're going to start losing grip as we enter the latter stages. He might actually want to come in for a second time as he's following Inokui as closely as he can. 3 tenths of a second the gap. 2 tenths now. It's so close. He's going to try and pull outside. Cosmos hits the back of Santino Milan. Here comes Ravo going down the inside as into the wall and out of the race goes Inokui. Oh, and that's day over for the Mahindra man. Oh dear, that's unfortunate for him. But now I think Ravo's looking at this right now and is thinking, yeah, I should probably pit. If I don't pit here, I could be susceptible to have that happen to me. So I think the call for Hyperdrive Racing, and for Virgin, and for McLaren, and for Pinnacle, all of the teams right now, I think is to come in. Yeah, there are dark clouds ahead, but if you don't pit, it's going to be even worse for all the drivers. Ocampo is 58 seconds off the race lead. He's 20 seconds off the back of Lars Folstad. Oscar Folstad looks as if he was going to try and make a move on Daniel Bogdasarov. And the top 3 all stay out on lap 10 of 13. This is going to be very tight for all of them. Bogdasarov with attack mode. Bastian Tan comes into the pits. Bogdasarov trying to come across Osravo as a real threat here, and I think he might get past the Frenchman who won his first race in Marina Bay. He's going to try and take the lead here. Regen is occurring for the Hyperdrive man. So as we come through the chicane, almost hitting the wall, into the wall goes Bogdasarov. Bravo out of the E3. Reversing is Bogdasarov. Oscar Folstad takes the lead of the E3. Jack Carter has been given a 5-second time penalty, but for the championship leader and the reigning World Drivers' Champion, he is out of his home race. And with the other Italian down in 10th, there's not a lot to smile at if you are Italian. But if you're Norwegian, you are loving this because your driver is leading the way for McLaren. McLaren TGR once again lead an E3. I expect Oscar to come into the pits, however. Ocampo's coming for his second stop. And what wall tyres are going on from there? Those are soft tyres going on to the Andretti driver's car. As Akari doing his best to wheel in Folstad. And are they coming into the pits? Akari's in. Folstad stays out to start lap 11. Jack Carter also into pit lane. Carter could win his first race here, but it would have to come down to strategy and him getting past a plethora of other drivers. Folstad's having so much trouble. Well, That now, as Ocampo's been able to unlap himself, that's the amount of trouble he's having out there with his mediums. Ocampo's just unlapped himself from the McLaren man, who comes through the chicane, just about misses both barriers, thankfully, so he'll be able to continue in this race as Milan. And out of the race goes Mealres out of the Prix on the wall there. I honestly thought it would have been Sierra, but thankfully for Nissan it wasn't. VST is out there now. There's 2 more laps left in the Prix. So VSC is currently out there. And it's about to end, thankfully. Ocampo might get lapped here, but it's all about if Volstad decides to come in. If Volstad stays out, he's going to need to do everything he can to keep that car pointing in a straight line. If he doesn't hit, he might wreck. He stayed out. Oscar Volstad starts the penultimate lap of the Prix in the lead. Sierra is almost tried to do an entire race without pitting, but does decide to finally come into the pit. That is the same car he started the race with. No repairs have been done to that at Nissan. So Santino Milan currently second, but ways behind. Gabo fighting with Ukable, but we're looking to the race leader still. He's got only 1 more lap to go and is out of this Prix again. Volstad. That's another time he's been leading an Prix and has had it ripped away from him. So Santino Milan now leads this race on the penultimate lap from Ukable and Gabo. Ukable could win this. He's 2 seconds off the back of the Nissan this moment, but if he can close in, I think Ukable could, should, and will win this race here in Rome. This would be a sensational way to say, you know what, I'm ready to win a 2nd championship now under my own banner. He's going to have to use all of his brains and all of the brawn he can. As you can see there, Gabo going very wide, so is David Camino. And he's going to use all of his attack mode going down the straight. I don't think he's going to try and regen. Late braking to hold on to P5 ahead of Bastien Tan and Tommy. Bastien Tan going to come back at him. No, he's going to have attack mode coming down the straight and retake 4th position. Ukable currently in 2nd currently. If Santino Milan doesn't finish this race, it's going to be a dogfight between Ukable and Gabo. They go side by side through the first chicane. Wide goes Gabo. Ukable holds on to 2nd position. But on the final lap, it's all about whether or not this man can hold on. Santino Milan, he won his first career race. He's in brilliant circumstances at home, but he hits the wall here in Rome, and he's been hit by Ukable. Out of the race goes Tommy of all drivers, and that's a massive shunt at the end of this race. Camino hits the side of Santino Milan, and Gabo is now 2 seconds off the back of Ukable. If he was any further, he'd be worrying Bastien Tan currently 3rd. But this man has to try and pull 5 seconds now. He can't. I don't think he can. I don't think Ukable can pull 2 seconds. As it would stand, he would drop to 5th. Gabo is about to win his home race for Virgin Racing. It's going to be absolutely sensational. He's 2 seconds off the back of Ukable. The brawn man trying his absolute best to extend his race lead, but he can't do anything more than run the final turn and take the checkered flag. But at home, Gabo wins the Rome Prix from Bastien Tan and Akari, your top 3. Jack Carter comes across the line to take 5th on the road. But my oh my, that final lap is a final lap to end all final laps as Ocampo goes out of the race at the very end. And this is the podium then. Gabo wins his home race from Bastien Tan at 20 seconds to 2nd drive, and Akari coming on with a P3 finish. Then it's U-Cable, Jack Carter, Daniel Bogdasarov, Santino Milan, and Leo, the top 8. Then it's Marcus Nelson, Michael Novikov, Lawless Leclerc, David Kamler, Cosmos, P. Sierra, Tommy, he being your first retirement, with the rest of the retirements being Sebastian Ocampo, Oscar Folstad, Neil Rez, Revo, and Okiri, Daf Sanchez, and Iwald. So in the driver's standings, Revo leads the way on 83 points from T. Gabro on the nice number of points. Then it's Marcus Nelson, Sebastian Tan, U-Cable, Jack Carter, Leo, Iworld, the top 8. Then it's Lawrence Leclerc, Daniel Bogdasarov, Sebastian Ocampo, Akari Lopez, Oscar Folstad, Cosmos, P. Sierra, Daf Sanchez, Santino Milan, David Kamler, Neil Rez, and Okiri, Michael Novikov, and Tommy, who is still yet to score in the constructors' standings. Going into the next round, Hyperdrive Racing lead the way from Virgin Renault and McLaren TGR. Then it's Mercedes Formula E Team, Aurelio Pinnacle at Sportsline, Braun Honda GP, DS Andretti, Mahindra, Nissan Nismo, and Next TV Neo. See you guys next time then when the FEMC returns.